And since I've heard some comments from various hikers about staying either here at MTR or over at VVR, I wanted to do a little PSA on the differences between the two and the two different business models that each one of the owners have for running their particular business, and hopefully help you understand, especially if you're planning a trip to hike the JMT. You want to know what the differences are and what the services are each location. So to go to the beginning, normally when you begin planning your John Muir Trail hike, you're looking at dots on the map and you're trying to figure out how far am I going to hike each day, and then where do the resupply points fit into what I'm planning on doing as far as a hiker goes. And once you start looking at that map, you begin to realize that between Red's Meadow at the north and Onion Valley to the south, there are a whole lot of options to get resupplied. And the two that pop out because they're the ones that are most discussed are Vermillion Valley Resort and Muir Trail Ranch are the two that are kind of in the middle between Red's Meadow and Onion Valley. And so most people take a look at the map and then try to decide, okay, how many miles am I going to go? And I'm going to end up here, I'm going to end up there. And they decide on a resupply point. It's either going to be VVR or it's going to be MTR, because it doesn't make a bit of sense to resupply at both since they're only about 20 or 25 miles apart on the JMT map. And so you pick one of those points and you resupply there. So what are you paying for when you go to either VVR or MTR for resupply? You're paying essentially for them to hold a resupply bucket for you and to have it available when you come through and stop, so that you can get your supplies out and put them in your bear canister. So that's the service you pay for. Here at MTR, they charge you $80. Isn't that right, Kath? So it's $80 for the service here at MTR, and that's what you get. They have a building that they store all of these resupply buckets in. And sometime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day, you can get your resupply bucket out and you can access it, and you can go ahead and put your resupply into your bear canister if you just happen to be passing through. Now, I don't know what the fee is up at VVR, but that's for Vermillion Valley Resort, but I am pretty sure that it's comparable to what you would pay here at Muir Trail Ranch. So when you get ready to resupply, whether you resupply at VVR or MTR, you're paying that fee, whatever that fee is, for the service of getting resupplied. Now, there are two different business models that are run at these two different locations. At VVR, or Vermillion Valley Resort, I would call that the hiker-centric kind of experience that they have there, because their Vermillion Valley Resort, if you're just a hiker, when you show up there to get your resupply, they've got a hiker campground that is essentially right in front of the building there, where they have a public restaurant, and they also have like a store, like a country store, and it's pretty well stocked. They've got a lot of items in there. So as a hiker, you can go to VVR to get your resupply. You can camp in their campground, which is located at least one of the campgrounds that we saw last year when we went off trail there. Camp in the campground there right in front of the store and the restaurant. And if you want to pay for it, obviously you can go in and a cook will prepare, I think, breakfast and dinner. I'm not sure about the lunch. Do they do lunch? Okay. So Cass says they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you do have to pay for it. You go into the restaurant, you sit down and order just like you would at any other restaurant, and they bring the food out to you, and you can eat there in the restaurant. And then they have a nice little store next door.
Showers and laundry.
Right, and as Cass said, they also have showers and a laundry, public showers and a laundry.
There's a hiker cabin that we can stay in as a hiker. It's one of those that has like 12 beds and you get a bed.
Okay, so I think you probably heard that, but at Casa they also have a hiker cabin that has about 12 beds in it. So if you want to stay in a cabin, you can actually stay in a cabin there. And again, this is something that you pay for as a service. And I'm sure they have public restrooms, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they've got, these are all the amenities that, as a hiker, that are kind of in the additional category. You didn't pay for any of this when you signed up for a resupply. It's just stuff that's available to you as a hiker. Plus, Kath left out the key thing, which is the first beer is on them. So when you get there as a hiker, you just go into the store and tell them that you're there to spend the night or whatever as a through hiker. And they'll basically, if they don't tell you that, you could ask them. But the first beer is on them. You go to one of their coolers there in the store and pull out whatever your favorite brand of beer is, or if you're not a beer drinker, Dr. Pepper. And the first one's on them, and then you end up having to pay for the rest of it. Now, that's one essential difference between VVR and MTR is MTR has no alcohol. So even though they have a little store, they don't sell any alcohol at all, nor do they serve alcohol in the restaurant here at VVR.
At MTR.
Sorry, at MTR, that's correct. So that's the one business model. That's the VVR model, the Vermillion Valley Resort. So you've got all those amenities that are in addition to what you've already paid for, which would be your resupply. Now let's move over to where Kath and I are staying, which is at MTR. Now when you come through here as a through hiker and you pick up your resupply, there is no immediate access to a campground right out in the front of where the resupply area is or the store. There's stables, and they have cabins for guests, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But there's none of the other amenities that we just discussed that you would have at a place like Vermillion Valley Resort. So if you want those kind of things, Vermillion Valley Resort, if you want all of those other amenities, the public restaurant, the hiker cabin, all that stuff, you might make your decision about where the resupply would be at Vermillion Valley Resort, VVR, as opposed to MTR. But here's where the business model is different at MTR. MTR, their business model is they run a business where they cater to groups, and they cater to more the resort, the all-inclusive resort experience. So if you can afford it, I would highly recommend if you can do a resupply at MTR, that you try to get in as an individual. It doesn't always work out because since they cater primarily to groups, the first part of the season, the hiking season, they're basically closed to individual hikers coming through because they just don't have the space. They book all of their space to groups, and so there's essentially no space available for you to be able to stay in one of their cabins like Kath and I are staying. And included with that, when you pay for the stay, to stay as a guest in one of the cabins, you get their meal plan, and the meals include all of the meals. They cook all the meals for you, except for lunch, right? The lunch, or you make your own lunch, right?
Yeah, but they provide all the food for your lunch. You
Right.
You make sandwiches and
Right, they have a huge sandwich slash lunch table there, and when you go to eat breakfast like we are in the morning, what you do after breakfast is you get a bag. They got little baggies there, and you have this huge spread laid out for lunches, so you can go in and make sandwiches. You can get cookies. You can get little fruity snacks.
fresh fruit.
Fresh fruit, right? So you got all the sandwich spreads. It's really a nice experience. So the guest model or the all-inclusive model is the MTR model. You know, that's where they make their money. That's how they run their business here. They have a little bitty store. And they have if you're accustomed to high-speed internet, you will not want to use their internet here because it's basically you can go check your email type of internet speed, and it's $10 a half hour or something like that to do all that. So they have a little bitty store, just a few items in it. Kath actually bought a T-shirt there yesterday. But those are the two different business models. So don't conflate the two because there's really no comparison to be made between the two. You have to think about what it is you want to do with your JMT experience. And for Kath and I, this really is a wonderful place because in addition to the all-inclusive meals, and you got a cabin to stay in, indoor toilet, a sink, all that stuff, they have these wonderful handcrafted hot spring spas that you can go to as a guest. Now, you don't get to do this as a hiker, but as a guest, if you stay at the resort here at Muir Trail Ranch, you can go down there and soak in about 105-degree hot spring water, and basically what they have constructed is like a spa type environment, and they're beautiful little spas that they have. And after you've been on the trail like we were actually 24 days in the wilderness and 20 days on the trail, it's like going to heaven and then coming back and going to heaven again. I mean, it's just a wonderful experience. So as you plan your JMT hike, think about what you want to do, and my recommendation would be if you've got the time and you've got the financial wherewithal, that you spend at least one night in each place, because they're both unique. They're both very unique, and they're both very enjoyable experiences. The one other bonus you would get if you went to VVR is you get to ride the ferry from the ferry landing there off the JMT trail at Lake Edison.
But you have to pay for it.
And how much did we pay last year?
I think it was something like $15 one way.
Okay, so Cass said you have to pay for that too, but it's really a lot of fun. You can ride across the lake in a boat, although a couple of years ago when it was so dry, you basically had to hike in. I don't think they had a boat running because there was no water in Lake Edison. All right, so I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that as you plan your JMT hike, you'll consider the differences between the two places and determine what it is that you want to do.